Welcome to the foundational journey into mergers and acquisitions law in India. In this video, we'll explore the essential concepts, regulatory frameworks, and historical evolution that shape Indian M&A practice today. Whether you're a student, practitioner, or just curious about how companies combine and acquire each other, this series is designed to clarify the legal landscape. We'll begin by understanding what makes M&A law unique in India, why it's a multi-regulator field, and how the law has evolved over time. Let's set the stage for a comprehensive exploration of this dynamic subject. This treatise treats mergers and acquisitions, or M&A, as a distinct body of Indian law. It's built primarily on statutes like the Companies Act, SEBI SAST Regulations, Competition Act, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, Income Tax Act, and FEMA. Comparative material from Delaware and UK law is used sparingly, only to illuminate the Indian position. Every statutory provision and case cited is real and verifiable, but users should always check official sources for primary citation. The treatise focuses on doctrinal mapping and explanation, not as a citation authority. Treatise describes the law as it stands today, flagging major amendment milestones. It doesn't reconstruct full historical texts unless the history is doctrinally significant, such as the shift from the Companies Act, 1956 to 2013, or from the SEBI SAST Regulations, 1997 to 2011. This ensures you're learning the most relevant and current legal framework, with historical context only where it's crucial for understanding the present. Part I of this treatise covers the conceptual, historical, and regulatory foundations of Indian M&A law. It lays the groundwork for all subsequent parts, which will address transaction structures, due diligence, SEBI Takeover Code, competition law, cross-border M&A, tax structuring, NCLT-driven mergers, minority protection, documentation, and recent developments. Each part builds on the vocabulary and concepts established here. Treatise is organized for clarity and depth. It starts with a note on scope and method, followed by roadmap, and then dives into 5 core chapters: conceptual distinctions, historical development, regulatory architecture, transaction classification, and key vocabulary. This structure ensures a logical progression from basic concepts to complex regulatory interactions. Document 1 is the foundation, covering the basics. What is an acquisition or merger? How Indian M&A law developed, the regulatory map, transaction classifications, and key terms. Each subsequent part will build on this, delving deeper into specific areas like transaction structures and regulatory details. This roadmap helps you navigate the subject with confidence. Indian M&A law. An acquisition means obtaining control or a substantial stake in a company's shares, voting rights, or assets, without the target company losing its separate legal existence. The acquirer becomes a shareholder or asset owner, but the target remains a distinct legal entity. The term acquisition is not defined in a single statute, but is shaped by several overlapping laws, including SEBI SAST Regulations, Competition Act, and Companies Act. Merger, often used interchangeably with amalgamation in Indian statutes, is a process where two or more companies combine, with one or more losing their separate legal existence. The assets and liabilities of the transfer company vest in the transferee company, typically through a court or tribunal-sanctioned scheme under Sections 230-232 of the Companies Act, 2013. For tax purposes, amalgamation is defined in the Income Tax Act, with specific conditions for tax-neutral treatment. Crucial to distinguish between acquisitions and mergers. In an acquisition, the target company continues to exist, while in a merger, the transfer company ceases to exist, and its assets and liabilities move to the transferee. Acquisitions are usually private contracts, while mergers require tribunal sanction. The approval process, timeline, and stamp duty implications also differ significantly. Understanding these differences is vital for applying the correct legal procedure. M&A transactions can be categorized as horizontal, vertical, or conglomerate combinations. Horizontal combinations occur between competitors in the same market and attract the highest competition law scrutiny. Vertical combinations involve entities at different supply chain levels, raising foreclosure concerns but generally treated less stringently. Conglomerate combinations are between unrelated businesses and usually raise fewer competition concerns. Acquisitions can be friendly or hostile. Friendly acquisitions have the support of the target's board, while hostile ones proceed without it, often through public open offers. In India, hostile takeovers are less common due to concentrated promoter holdings, but the SEBI SAST regulations apply regardless of board support. Understanding this distinction helps in analyzing the strategic and regulatory implications of M&A deals. Control is a pivotal concept in M&A law. It's defined broadly under SEBI SAST regulations to include the right to appoint a majority of directors or control management or policy decisions, whether by shareholding agreements or other means. This wide definition ensures that not just majority ownership, but also de facto or negative control arrangements are regulated. The Subcom Ventures case is a key example of ongoing debates about what constitutes control. Persons acting in concert, or PAC, refers to individuals or entities who collaborate with a common objective of acquiring shares or control over a target. SEBI SAST regulations define PACs and include deeming provisions, such as companies and their promoters or entities under common control. PACs are important because their shareholdings are aggregated to determine if open offer thresholds are crossed. Indian M&A practice recognizes a wide spectrum of combination structures beyond just acquisitions and mergers. These include share acquisitions, open offers, asset acquisitions, slump sales, demergers, fast-track mergers, cross-border mergers, reverse mergers, capital reduction, and insolvency-driven acquisitions. Each structure has its own statutory anchors and regulatory requirements, which will be explored in detail in later parts. For 1991, Indian M&A activity was tightly regulated under the License Raj, MRTP Act and FERA. The focus was on restraining concentration of economic power and large mergers required government approval. Foreign acquisitions were heavily restricted. This era was characterized by suspicion toward large-scale combinations, setting the stage for later liberalization. 1991 economic reforms marked a turning point. Delicensing, foreign investment, and capital market reforms enabled a more active M&A market. SEBI was established and the first Takeover Code was introduced in 1997. The MRTP Act's merger control was diluted, and FERA was replaced by FEMA, shifting from prohibition to management of foreign exchange. 2000 saw the repeal of the MRTP Act and its replacement with the Competition Act, 2002, introducing a modern merger control regime. The SEBI SASD regulations were overhauled in 2011, following the Achuthan Committee's recommendations. These reforms brought Indian M&A law in line with global best practices, focusing on economic substance and competition. Companies Act, 2013 restructured the merger and amalgamation machinery, transferring jurisdiction from high courts to the National Company Law Tribunal (NCLT). Sections 230, 232, and 233 introduced new procedures, including a fast-track merger route for small companies and holding subsidiary mergers. Section 234 enabled cross-border mergers for the first time. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, 2016, IBC created a new route for M&A, distressed asset acquisitions through the corporate insolvency resolution process. Section 29A disqualifies certain persons from bidding, shaping acquisition strategies for stressed assets. The IBC has become a significant channel for M&A, especially in the context of financial distress. Since the mid-2010s, Indian M&A regulation has evolved with periodic amendments to SEBI SASD, the introduction of the CCI's Green Channel for automatic approvals, and changes to FEMA rules. NCLT and NCLAT jurisprudence on schemes and valuation, and the increasing use of IBC for acquisitions reflect a dynamic regulatory environment. Staying updated is essential. M&A in India routinely engages multiple regulators: the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, SEBI, Competition Commission of India, Income Tax Department, Reserve Bank of India, and more. Each has its own triggers, timelines, and compliance requirements. Correctly identifying which regulators are engaged is a key practical and examination skill. Core statutes governing M&A include the Companies Act, SEBI Act and SASD regulations, Competition Act, Income Tax Act, FEMA, IBC, and the Indian Stamp Act. Each statute has a specific regulator and relevance to M&A, from scheme sanction to open offer triggers, competition clearance, tax treatment, foreign investment, and stamp duty. Typical listed company acquisition involves due diligence, agreement execution, open offer announcement if thresholds are crossed, CCI notification, sectoral approvals, and closing with regulatory filings. The order in which regimes are engaged depend on the transaction specifics. Understanding sequencing is crucial to avoid compliance pitfalls. Regulatory regimes can interact or even conflict. For example, a scheme involving a listed company requires SEBI and stock exchange approval before NCLT filing. NCLT examines statutory compliance but not competition clearance, which is CCI's domain. Practitioners must structure deals to avoid gun jumping, consummating a deal before CCI approval. M&A disputes and approvals may involve several forums: NCLT for schemes and insolvency, NCLAT for appeals, CCI for competition, SAT for SEBI matters, and ITAT for tax disputes. Each has its own jurisdiction and appeal routes, culminating in the Supreme Court for final resolution. M&A deals can be classified by how consideration is paid: cash, share swap, mixed, or earn-out structures. Each has unique legal and tax implications. Earn-outs, for example, tie payment to post-completion performance and require careful drafting to address timing and tax issues. Acquisitions differ based on whether the target is listed or unlisted. Unlisted deals are governed by company and contract law, while listed company acquisitions trigger SEBI SASD open offer rules and continuous disclosure obligations. Delisting is a separate process with its own regulations. M&A transactions can be domestic or cross-border. Inbound deals: foreign acquirer, Indian target, engage FEMA rules, sectoral caps, and government approvals. Outbound deals: Indian acquirer, foreign target, follow FEMA's overseas investment framework. Cross-border mergers under Section 234 require RBI approval. Acquisitions can be negotiated friendly, hostile, or involve competing offers. Hostile open offers are rare in India due to promoter holdings, but the law provides for them. Competing bids are allowed during open offer processes, ensuring a fair market for control. M&A can proceed via private contracts, tribunal-sanctioned schemes, fast-track mergers, cross-border mergers, or resolution plans under IBC. Each vehicle has its own process, approvals, and suitability depending on the transaction's nature and objectives. Beyond legal classification, M&A deals are often analyzed by strategic rationale: horizontal consolidation, vertical integration, diversification, distressed asset acquisition, reverse mergers, acqui-hires, and private equity buyouts. Each rationale shapes the deal structure and legal considerations. Important company law terms include scheme of compromise or arrangement, transfer or transferee company, appointed date effective date, small company, and related party transaction. Each term has a statutory source and specific relevance to M&A transactions affecting approval processes and compliance. Key securities law terms under SEBI SASD regulations include acquirer, control, persons acting in concert, open offer, frequently traded shares, and creeping acquisition. These terms determine when open offers are triggered, how pricing is set, and who must comply with disclosure rules. The Competition Act 2002 introduces terms like combination, appreciable adverse effect on competition AAC, relevant market, and green channel. These concepts are central to merger control, determining when CCI approval is needed and how competitive effects are assessed. Tax law terms like amalgamation, demerger, slump sale, and indirect transfer are defined in the Income Tax Act. These definitions determine whether a transaction qualifies for tax-neutral treatment, how gains are taxed, and when indirect transfers are taxable in India. FEMA and its rules introduce terms like automatic route, government route, and pricing guidelines. These determine whether foreign investment needs prior approval, what sectors are open, and how prices for capital instruments are set. Compliance with these rules is essential for cross-border M&A. The treatise provides a glossary of key terms, organized for easy revision. Terms are grouped by theme: company law, securities law, competition law, tax, and foreign exchange. Cross-referenced flashcards in Q&A formats will be available in later documents for efficient study and recall. Part I has established the essential vocabulary, historical context, and regulatory map for Indian M&A law. With these foundations, you're ready to explore advanced topics like transaction structures, due diligence, competition law, and more in subsequent parts. Each builds on the principles covered here. In Part II, we'll dive into transaction structures, share and asset acquisitions, slump sales, schemes of arrangement, demergers, reverse mergers, and capital reduction. Each structure will be explained with statutory references, case law, and practical illustrations, building on the concepts from Part I. Coming parts will also cover the SEBI Takeover Code in depth, competition law clearance, cross-border M&A, FEMA, tax structuring, NCLT-driven mergers, minority protection, documentation, and recent developments. Each topic will be addressed with doctrinal clarity and practical guidance. When applying M&A law, always check the latest statutory text and regulatory guidance, as amendments are frequent. Use the treatise for doctrinal mapping, but verify citations and procedural requirements with official sources. This approach ensures accuracy in exams, court submissions, and commercial advice. Frequent error is treating mergers and acquisitions as interchangeable or applying the wrong statutory procedure. For example, using NCLT scheme procedures for a private share purchase or assuming a scheme can proceed without tribunal oversight. Always distinguish the transaction type and follow the correct legal path. For exams, focus on understanding the statutory anchors for each concept, the interaction between regimes, and the rationale behind key distinctions. Practice with case studies and hypothetical scenarios to build issue-spotting skills. Use the glossary and revision tools for quick recall of definitions and processes. To deepen your understanding, continue with Part II and subsequent documents in the series. Each builds on the foundation laid here, offering detailed analysis, case law, and practical examples. Stay engaged and revisit the glossary and roadmap as you progress. You've now completed the foundational overview of mergers and acquisitions law in India. With a clear grasp of the core concepts, regulatory architecture, and historical context, you're well prepared to tackle advanced topics. Continue your journey with the next part for a deeper dive into transaction structures and practical application.